As this is Demon going to be part 3 of my How to Rap series. So in part 1, I kind of told you how to structure a punchline, how to find your rap name, kind of building the blocks from the ground up, kind of just starting out. Part number 2 was about how you get through your first project. This is where I'm at right now. This is part 3. I made my first project, so what the hell do I do now? Like, do I take a break? Do I continue making music? Like, what if my first one doesn't sell as good as my second one? Should I even make another one if my first record didn't do well? All these questions kind of come into an artist's mind after they've made their first project, especially when the motivation has changed for that project. So, since the first project, for the second one. So, let's say you've made your first project, right? What are you supposed to do now? It's kind of the question that I too have to answer. So the big thing that number one point I put down was listen to different types of music and find new artists, find new inspiration, because I find myself doing this a lot. Just because it's so easy to go back to that Eminem song that inspired you at first, or, like the A$AP Rocky, or the Logic, or the MGK, or the G-Eazy. Sometimes you need to listen to different types of music to get different vibes. So, and what I mean by this is, like, you can't always go to the same well and expect water. Like, you have to switch it up a little bit. And that's part of the reason why the creative process is so tough, because if you get stuck in a niche, like this is my issue, personally, my whole last project was dark. There was one funny song on there, that was it. And that's because that's what I was going through, that's fine. But as artists, we have to be able to adapt. We have to kind of try something different out of our comfort zone. And listening to music that is out of our comfort zone really helps. So, I showed you guys all the albums and stuff I have as I was buying them, but I don't only have rap. I have like Kurt Cobain, Nirvana, I have Foo Fighters, I have Tuvlo, I have Selena Gomez, I have Justin Bieber, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, like A$AP Rocky, Sam Smith, Ed Sheeran, just lists and lists and lists of artists that I can listen to at any given time. And that is because I don't want to only be inspired by Eminem and Logic. I want to be inspired by a whole vast variety of artists. So when I go to create, I can pull from different inspirations, different lyrics, different songs, different emotions to make it so much easier to create. Because if you keep going back to that same song, you're probably going to have some of the same lyrics. Like, if you use the same train of thought, use the same songs, use the same vibes, it's just going to come out the same. So that's really what I've been focused on, is I've been trying to get different music, and that's what you guys should do too. You can't always go to the same song and expect a different outcome. So listen to different music and find new artists is the number one thing on how to make that next project, is just to find something different. You can't stay on the straight and narrow forever. You have to veer off and go to the fork in the road and just try to find something different, something new, something that's fresh to you in your mind to keep you hungry. Number 2, this is a huge thing too, because a lot of artists can do this, and this is what gets them into that writer's block phase where they can't write anything. The reason you can't write is because you're forcing yourself to write. Now, later on this list, I do say force yourself to be creative, but there's a difference. So, here's the difference. When you rush your inspiration, like, let's say I'm inspired to do a song. Okay, so I lay the whole thing, the whole track out, right? But if you rush that, if it sounds forced on the song, it's not going to sound right. It's going to sound shitty, because you have to feel an emotion. You can't force an emotion. So don't rush your inspiration. Like, if you're inspired to do a song, great. Take your time on it. Really put something into the song. Don't just write it quick and say, oh, I got a song done. It's perfect. It's fine. It's good how it is. That's never a good thing to do. You never want to rush yourself. Just go at a steady pace. Like, set an end date for a song, set a due date for a song, but never make it like, oh, I need to finish this whole song tonight because I have a deadline. Like, no. The deadline, if you need to do it in a deadline, then work on it slowly and surely, or as you get inspired. Don't force yourself to produce something, because then it won't come out correctly. So don't rush your inspiration. It'll come naturally to you. And if you rush it, odds are it's not going to come out how you want it to come out. Number 3, force yourself to be creative. Now this kind of sounds like I'm going back on number 2 and saying, well, you just told me not to rush your inspiration. But here's the difference. Forcing yourself to create is different than forcing yourself to be inspired. Like, you can create while you're not inspired. It doesn't sound like clean cut or whatever. It doesn't sound correct. But you can be creative without feeling inspired. There's a difference. Like, if I go in front of the microphone and I'm inspired and I'm all hyped up and stuff, that's great. But I need to force myself to be creative so I feel like I'm doing something at all times. Because if you sit on your ass and you don't do anything, that's kind of the next point. But if you sit on your ass, you don't record, you don't make music, you're going to feel like you lost it. And that's something nobody wants to feel. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you do just have to chill out, have to live your life instead of just being in that studio with the mic, with the pad, with the pen, forcing yourself to do stuff. That's okay. You can have an off day. You can have a couple off days. That's fine. But what I mean by forcing yourself to be creative is like when I'm on a walk or I'm walking through the house or in the shower or chilling in my room or, going to the mall or when I was at my old job, like drying off cars, I would always be rapping. I'd always, well, not necessarily rapping, but rhyming. I would always have a beat in my head, snapping my fingers, tapping my knee, slapping my knee, just trying to get the creative juices flowing because it comes when you force yourself to be creative and really start to feel it, that's when inspiration hits. When I have a hook and I'm like, oh, that's cool, I need to lay it. That's not rushing the inspiration, it's creating the inspiration, which is what you're going to want to do. Because you're not always going to feel inspired, you're not always going to feel motivated. What I do, for me, I make myself work on shit when I don't feel motivated. Because I know out of working through that niche or that wall, I'm going to bust through it and something great's going to come out. But on the opposite side of this is number 4. Don't get lazy. So what I mean by that is, like I said, you can have a couple off days. That's okay. But if it's like, if you have a song that's like 3/4 of the way done and you're just like, I don't feel like recording today. Try to do little things day by day to make the song better, to improve it, to add the ad-libs or cut this there, or snippet or whatever, Like, let's say you have a due date, right? This is what I mean by don't get lazy. Like, if you have a due date, let's say I have a song called Underground, just whatever, I don't, but, whatever for the analogy's sake. So I have a song called Underground, and I want it done in 2 weeks. You don't want to rush the inspiration for that song. But you can create other things while that due date's coming at you. Because then if you create different stuff, the inspiration for that song might come to you. That's all I'm saying. It's like, you don't want to sit on a song forever. That's terrible. It probably won't get done. And when you finally get to it, you're probably not going to be motivated to do it. So, don't be lazy with your second project. And it's really easy to do. I've done it. I'm trying really hard not to. But the last point that I want to make is have fun with it. In your second project, it's kind of hard to do that because, you're kind of, I already made it. I made a whole record. What am I gonna do now? I touched on a lot of subjects. I touched on my life. Where do I even start? If you're not having fun with the music that you're making, then nobody else is going to. That's a big point. Like, if you force yourself to make a song, it's gonna sound forced. It's gonna sound like you don't enjoy what you're doing. Then why are you doing it? You should enjoy the music you make so others can enjoy it. You should make the music for other people to listen to enjoy, to feel what you were feeling, to kind of give them a mental picture, help them experience what you were experiencing. If you don't have fun making music, then you shouldn't do it. I love making music. Some days I don't. I will admit that. Some days I don't want to do it. I'm like, fuck it, don't even go in the studio. But I create on a day-to-day basis. Like, I create a hook, I create a line, I create just little things here and there that add to a song or that, like, turn into a song. That's why it's fun for me, because that's how my brain works. That's how I've kind of trained my brain to be, is I do all of these things. And that's what led to Darkness to Light, and that's what's leading to this great music that I'm recording. I want to make these videos to help you guys out, to let you know I struggle with this too. Every artist does. After the first project, or after a really big project too, like MMLP2, I'm sure Eminem Show wasn't the easiest. Well, he had 8 Mile going on as well, but like I'm just saying, a lot of artists have this issue where they have one and they're like, oh, I'm done. And it's like, well, if you're done, you're done. That's fine. But if you are just saying you're done because you can't think of a song, you can't do this, you can't do that, just find your inspiration. Look for different artists. Look for different sounds, different instrumentals, different emotions inside of yourself. Don't rush inspiration. Don't rush through something just to get it done. It's like homework. Music is like your homework. If you have a deadline and you put it off and you put it off and you put it off and then you just rush through it the night before, it is not going to be as good as if you worked on it the whole time, corrected it as you were going, and, kind of formulated a plan and just attacked it and did it accurately, fixed the mistakes that you would have made that night. And because you had more time to put into it, the project or the paper or whatever it is turns out better. You get a better quality of work when you get enough time to work on it, but you fix the mistakes along the way. It's the same thing with music. Like, if you rush the entire song until the night before your due date that you set for yourself, it's gonna sound like shit. It's going to sound off. You're going to find little pieces that are wrong here and there that you didn't fix because you didn't give yourself time. So don't rush through it just to get it done. Just don't rush your inspiration, because then it's going to come out wrong and you're not going to enjoy it and other people aren't going to enjoy it either. Force yourself to be creative. Find times in the day that you can just be creative. Just snap your finger to, like, make your own instrumental. Tap your knee. Just find kind of out of place or out of timed pieces of the day to just freestyle, just throw a ball against the wall, metaphorically, in your head, and just kind of give yourself time to just listen to that snap and just go. Because all of my songs have come from me freestyling. I can't describe a real woman because I have never had one. Or this song will penetrate you deeper than his dick will ever get there. I don't love you, I finally said it. Like, that shit was freestyle first. Some of it I did sit down and think about. Some of it I did create while I was making the song. But a lot of those, my favorite lines that have come out of my head, out of my mouth, creatively, I did while I was freestyling and just was having an extra 15 minutes before work, or walking to come and go, or whatever, driving to come and go, like hanging out with friends, and I think it's something. You just have to allow yourself to be creative, give yourself enough time to really process what you want to do, and don't rush it. So just force yourself when you don't feel like you want to be creative, force yourself to be. And then don't get lazy, set a deadline, meet the deadline, exceed the deadline, destroy, any self-doubt that you've had. That's a big issue that I have, is feeling like I'm getting lazy. And sometimes you get in a slump and you can't do anything. That's fine. Pounding your head against a brick wall is not going to make you any better. If you're not in the mood to write, don't force it. It will come to you naturally. But at the same time, if you've spent 8 months sitting on your ass not writing anything, it's time to get to fucking work and do some shit that you're going to be proud of. Sometimes you have to put yourself in the mood to be creative, to make some music. And lastly, have fun with recording, with making music, with collaborating, with talking to people, with freestyling. All this music shit should be fun for you. The whole process for me is fun. I mean, sometimes it's a pain in the ass. I will admit that. Sometimes in Darkness to Light, I struggle with stuff. That's fine. That everybody does. Every artist, no matter if you're or YouTuber or anything, and anything in life, everybody struggles. Everybody hits that wall and thinks, oh, I can't go through it, like it's a glass ceiling. Well, glass ceilings are made to be busted through. So you need to have fun with this. You need to create when you feel like creating, and sometimes when you don't feel like it, just force yourself to do it. So this is How to Rap, Part 3. What to do after your first project, how to get yourself inspired, keep you working and not get lazy, and have fun with the music. This is Demon, signing off.